Check 1, 2. So these are 16-inch Nicky Moon, formerly Relic series, now called the Sentinel series, lava hi-hats. So they're raw. Yeah, the reverb, let me turn that down. It's the default reverb on this Elisa's board, which is a Hall. I usually put it to number 30, which is the first chamber, so it's less noticeable. That's more natural. So these are the this camera. 16-inch Nicky Moon lava hats. They are both raw. I think they're lathed at the bell. Yeah, they're both lathed at the bell, but raw. Otherwise, 1,092 grams on the top, 1,385 grams on the bottom. Love them. It's the best 16s I've ever had. And I've had a bunch. These are some 60s Zildjians before they had the new beats, so they're both super thin. I pulled these off of my studio setup because I was doing a session where they wanted an old school sound. It's kind of hard to beat these mid-60s. No, I'm not selling any of these hi-hats, but you can get your own for sure. Nick will make you some 16 lava hats, I'm sure. So these are mid-60s Zildjians. They came with my my downbeat kit. So 1460s Zildjians, hard to beat, very quiet, which is why I use them in the studio a lot, because usually the hi-hats are too freaking loud once you put mics on everything. So also my all-time favorites, definitely not ones I will ever get rid of. They're pretty special, but almost every 60s Zildjian hats I've played sound good. Let's move it on to, these are some 12-inch Zildjians. I think they're mismatched, but this is a heavy, so this is like a new beat bottom. I don't know what era these are from. I'm bad with dating Zildjians. Probably 70s. It's got the big logo, the big stamp. And then a pretty thin top. The drum kit is, while I'm putting this clutch on. Drum kit is Bucks County Relic Series. Mahogany poplar with an outer veneer of distressed ash with solid brass tube lugs, solid brass single flange hoops, 22, 13, 16. Heads G2 or G12 coated batters. G1 clear on the bottom. Kick has a calf tone on the front, which you can't see. Calf tone on the front and with a hole, small hole. The batter is a single ply coated Drum Factory Direct prototype that I'm testing. It's basically like a G1 coated. Snare drum has a G1 coated. All right, these are the 12s. So those are fun. They're definitely specialty cymbals I wouldn't use too often, but I need something that sounds like an old early jazz or vaudeville kind of vibe, or just something real fast, kind of like drum and bass or something. These get used. And I did not buy these as a pair. I bought them, I think I found this heavy bottom first, and then found a 12-inch splash probably that fit well with it. So those are 12s. Rick's question. Yeah, Gad famously used a heavy K bottom on top, and I think an A on the bottom, and so like an A custom is what he's using now on the bottom. I don't do that, except for I have one pair that are designed to do that, so I will get to those here shortly. My 15-inch Sage hats were actually designed to be exactly that Steve Gadd kind of sound. So these are 13s? Yeah, these are 13s. These did come as a pair. I don't know which one's the bottom. I guess the higher pitch one. So these are some 13. I think old Zildjian hi-hats are still kind of the definitive hi-hat sound. Always kind of chasing that. So I don't have many old Zildjians. In fact, I've sold majority of my Zildjian stuff, but I keep hi-hats. So these are 13s. '70s new beats are great. The I have a pair of 16-inch new beats from the '70s that are pretty fun. So I'll get to those in a minute. So my main gigging hi-hats were '90s new beats that I sent over to Nicky Moon, and I told him to thin them out, make them similar to '60s A's, but not quite as thin. So it kind of retained a little bit of the new beat crispiness, but a bit more of the kind of papery 60s sound. And they're perfect. They're in my gig bag, or else I would have brought them in. So these get a lot of action in the studio too, especially if anyone requests like a Tame Impala sound. So very wispy, more wispier than the 14s and wispier than the 12s because they're both thin. They're both very thin. There's a little bit of a pitch difference. So those are the 13s. Also get a lot of action. Let's see, what else do we got here in this pile? So many hi-hats. I feel like hi-hats and snare drums are the most important thing in a track for me. If I can get those sounds right, then usually the rest of the kit doesn't matter. So these are some old quick beats. I don't know when the quick beats were created. Probably the early 80s. Has the kind of big chunky logo on it. Polar opposite to the 60s wispy papery sound. These are really chunky and bright. So here's the 14 old quick beats. So obviously, I think of Vinnie Colaiuta, early 90s era with Sting. He used quick beats on 10 Summoner's Tales, I believe. And then also Josh Freese, again, that early era when he was playing Zildjian with Perfect Circle and some other like Suicidal Tendencies. Pretty sure he used these as well. Super fun. The older ones, they're just kind of mellowed out. I have a set of the new ones as well, but these older ones, slightly more mellow than the newer ones. Very cool, signature kind of crispy hi-hat sound. Let's see what we're moving on to now. So that's the quick beats. Next up in the pile here, looks like the 14, there we go, 14 Nicky Moon Old Worlds, which is what I had on this kit up until I put the 16s up. So these are old K style 14s, not super thin, which is similar to what you would actually find on some old Ks. So they're pretty crispy, pretty Steve Gadd. I am actually planning on shooting a separate video where I just play them all. So that will be exactly what you're talking about. Same beat, same exactly like 4-bar chunks. Just quick cut to each different set of hi-hats. So that is in the docket for that's actual separate filmed video here. So these are great. I love them. They actually are pretty all-purpose to me. So that's the 14, you keep moving old worlds, if you care about the weights. 855 grams on top. So pretty light, but not light, but tight. It's pretty light, but not wobbly, which I think is really a hallmark of the sound, of the OK sound. Those cymbals are usually pretty stiff. The bottom is pretty chunky. 1362, which is probably a good amount heavier than most of the old Ks, but they're old K inspired. Love them. Oh, here's a set that I was considering selling, and I might still sell them. Istanbul Mehmet MC Constantinople Jazz series, because I think my old worlds kind of live in the same kind of universe, but maybe better. But I hung on to these for a while because they kind of reminded me of Jack DeJohnette a bit. But these might go up for sale. So 14 Istanbul Mehmet MC Constantinople Jazz. So a bit more platey sounding, not in a bad way, but not quite as nuanced, in my opinion, as the old worlds. So that's the MC Constantinople Jazz Istanbul Mehmets. I think I probably will end up putting those up for sale. Might see them over at Hawthorne Drum Shop in the near future. Next up, back to some old A's. This is a mixed match set of 15s from probably the 50s, 60s, I don't even know. They're just old Zildjians, 15s. Again, get a lot of use in the studio. These old Zildjian A's get a lot of studio action just because they're so quiet. they're not beautiful sounding, but they do record well. They sit in the mix well with certain styles. So those are the 15-inch, I'm gonna say 60s, maybe 50s. I don't love them, but they work. A lot of times it's just the right sound. Okay, now we're moving on to the Sage series. These are also 15s. These are the ones that are designed to be reversible. Nicky Moon Sage series 15s. Beautiful. Let's see. The lighter one is 1,049 grams. The heavier one is 1,381 and has 3 holes drilled toward, sort of towards the bell. So we'll put them in this typical way with the heavier one on the bottom. These are, I would say, 75% of the time, these are my studio hi-hats. I always start with these, and then if it's just something I need a different sound, I'll go to something else. But these are kind of where I start. Snare drum is a 5x14 Bucks County Satin Brass. It's a beautiful drum. Can you see it? Yeah, you can sort of see it here. It's like a brushed brass finish. It's affordable too, super affordable. I think it's like maybe 500 bucks. So those are the 15-inch Sage hats in the typical configuration with the heavier one on the bottom. I love these. They kind of can do everything, which is why I always start with them. And they don't have any of those like hollow overtones. And they're not too chunky. They're not too wispy. Hey, what's up, Mike? Yeah, I'm kind of working my way up size, so all you missed some 12s, some 13s, a few different sets of 14s. Now I'm at the Sage hats. So this is with the bottom on top. I mean, there's no top or bottom. This is with the heavier cymbal on top. So definitely more stick attack. It doesn't feel like they're upside down. This would be the Steve Gadd sound. Now, originally, when I talked to Nick about these, I was kind of referencing Steve Gadd, late 70s, Chick Corea, 3 quartets era, and that kind of nails it. One second, got people hitting me up. So 15-inch stage hats, these are my go-to, always in the studio. Can pretty much do everything with these. They're dark, they're crispy, they're musical, they're balanced, they can be loud if they need to be, they can be controlled if they need to be. Love them. Have never taken them out of the studio because they were meant to be studio hats. And they're reversible. You basically get 2 pairs for 1. So usually if I have to swap them out to something else, it's because I need something smaller or really vintagey or something really big. But if it's just a normal hi-hat sound, those always work. Here's another set of 15s. These were some, yeah, these are weird. These were some Amedia Comagene series 15s that were just kind of chunky and didn't have much personality. Nick took them and smashed the crap out of the bottom one, so put a ton of dimples in the bottom one. Thinned them out, put some dimples in them, hammered them up. Whenever I give Nick stuff to mod, I just say, do whatever you need to do to make them sound cool. And sometimes he has to go a little bit crazy. So it's 1,000 grams on top now, over 1150 on the bottom. These for a long time were my go-to for singer-songwriter, kind of fluffy, not super distinct hi-hats. Use them a lot on like big festival gigs and stuff. But they're not papery, so they have some chunk to them. So they're definitely not like super fast and quick, but they have a vibe. They're dark without being too trashy. They have some power, but they're kind of subtle in a way too. And there's no way if I would have had any, if I would have been like, Nick, I want you to specifically do this to these hi-hats. You know, I just let him work his magic. And this is what he had to go pretty extreme with the bottom one. Look at that thing. It's all dented up. But they don't sound extreme. I don't know what Nick's price structure is these days for mods. I think a typical mod that doesn't require a ton of reworking might set you back $100, but you have to ask him. I don't want to speak for him. Obviously be less than buying a new set of hi-hats. And you'll get something customized and super cool. What is this? Oh, these are some hollow logo Zildjian Quick Beat 15s. These are cool. These to me just sound like John Robinson 80s, late 70s, early 80s pop, Michael Jackson, disco. Pretty cool. I don't know why they stopped making these as 15s. So I think these are great for closed sounds. The open sound, it's not something I would use if I'm going to play a lot of open kind of riding, but for articulate stuff, really cool. Very crispy, but not super high pitch because they're bigger. I don't know how many of these exist, but I snagged these on Reverb years ago as soon as I saw them. I knew they'd be hard to come by. 15-inch quick beats. Getting towards the bottom of the pile here. That we will skip. 16. Are these the? Ooh, that's a broken one. Skip that. 16 new beats from Hollow Logo era. Whatever that is, 70s. Fat hats, I've not tried them out, but I did, I'm pretty sure they're based on the Stanton Moore, back when he was with Bosphorus, and I played those are great. And then when I went to Crescent, I played those, and those are great. And now he's at Zildjian. I think it's pretty much just a version of that. Everyone I know that has played them loves them. These are 16 new beats. are really cool. These were my singer-songwriter hats before I got those 15-inch mods. They're cool. They're fun. They're kind of down the middle, so you can use them for a lot of stuff. But since they're so big, they have that lower kind of Steve Jordan kind of world without getting super trashy. Very cool. I don't know how many of these exist, but again, snagged them when I saw them, and they come in handy at certain times. Favorite set for basic open foot chick sound? I mean, the Sages. And then I have a set of just regular new beats that are in a different case that, again, it's kind of hard to beat. Just the classic new beat sound for just a chick. But I would say my 15-inch Sage. Okay, these are 17-inch crashes, A crashes. It says dark crash. I don't know if they made a dark crash, but another hollow logo. Thin crash. That work well. Some 17s. 100% Steve Jordan world. So yeah, that's if I'm looking for Steve Jordan sounds, this is my go-to. I have another set of 17s that are by V Classics, again in a different case, that are really dark, kind of specialty. But these, because they're A's, they have a bit of that brightness and clarity, but they're low pitch because they're 17s. So those are some 17-inch. It says A dark crash. I mean, it's a pretty heavy crash. Also hollow logo. I don't know what a dark crash was in Zildjian's catalog, but pretty heavy. And then a thin crash on top. Super cool. My band's playing some studio time, kind of grunge sound, loud rock. Would you go with loud cymbals or quiet cymbals for recording something like that? Quieter cymbals always, because you can't remove cymbals from other mics. So if you're going to be hitting hard, thinner, quieter cymbals. You might even want to like try taping some of them up a little bit, because you can ruin a mix with cymbals. All right, here's the biggest pair, which is the Bounce, 18-inch Bounce ride that I had up in my ride cymbal video. So it's got 3 rivets that goes on the bottom. There's no trick when pairing crashes other than just trying to get like the curvature to be the same, because you want them to meet evenly all the way around the perimeter. It's just a lot of, I've been lucky, but it's just a lot of trial and error. Like those 15-inch A's are mismatched, and they're not perfectly paired. That's why there's a little bit of like a hollow overtone. So here's the 18s. So bigger hi-hats for me are cool because the pitch of the snare and the hi-hat kind of blends together. So they're fun. Not for everyday use, but they have a vibe. It's like the Steve Jordan went over the cliff. What are the more modern Zildjians that have the waffle edges called master sounds? I do not like those at all. I think they do the exact opposite of what the marketing says. They're supposed to make them maybe crisper or more projection. I find them to be less crisp, more metallic, less interesting sounding. I just don't like them. Those master sounds to me are not good. Same thing with the Pice D Sound Edge. Do not like them at all. Yes, Doug Clifford. This is the Creedence sound. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, if you play a Creedence tribute band, get some 18-inch old A crashes, that is the sound. And I love that sound, which I know is, from talking to him, the Steve Jordan hi-hat sound is heavily inspired by Doug Clifford with Creedence and the drummer from Sly and the Family Stone, I'm blanking on his name, who I think he used 16s or maybe 15s. So yeah, the true origins of the Steve Jordan oversized hi-hat sound largely coming from Doug Clifford with his 18s. So these are fun. These are my, like, give me all the vibe, then I go with these. I just have one random extra pair here. And we'll do that last. I'm not even sure if I've used these two cymbals together yet. I have this broken crash that I borrowed from a bandmate because I'm supposed to get it fixed for him. So it's an old A crash with a giant gnarly chunk out of it. And I'm going to try pairing it with this. This is a Legato Lux Series bottom. I think it's a 16. I've never paired it with this broken crash, so. But I have used this broken crash with the New Beats. And it has a vibe. So let's see how well it pairs with this. Out of 15-inch K-lights, 15-inch suites, and special drives, what would you use to record loud rock run 15-inch K-lights, 100%? Those are some of the best sounding hi-hats I've ever played. So I would do the lights first. The special drives would probably not have enough slosh. And the suites, K-suites, or if they're K-suites, those are nice too. They're probably a little bit brighter. I would start with the K-lights and work up to the suites if you need something brighter. And the special dries I would only use if you're doing a lot of closed hi-hat stuff. I wouldn't use them for sloshy stuff. But those K lights are amazing. I wish they just called them Ks and everyone would just buy them. I can't really use the pedal because I have about 50 hi-hat cymbals down here weighing my foot down. So they've got just some funky. If I need something that just sounds broken, for lack of a better term, this could come in handy, but this thing is brutally broken. Pretty dangerous. So that's like the super weird, we're going for like a junkyard sound. I might throw those up with caution. So let's go back to the start, which is the 16-inch Nicky Moon lava hats. Get my kit back. By the way, this clutch, the Remo quick release clutch, is amazing. You can take the wing nut off, or whatever you call that, the connecting nut off in seconds. So we're back to the start with the hi-hats that are working best with this kit for this upcoming gig. Nick is really good at making big, thin hi-hats with some presence to them and not have them just sound like two papery crashes thrown together. So I love these. These are my favorite 16s. They're my favorite big hi-hats. So usually in the studio, Sage Series 15s to start. And if I need just something bigger and swampier, I'll go to these. If I need something wispier and kind of more vintagey, I'll go to the old A14s or 13s. And then it's kind of like, all right, if none of those are working, if I need something super crispy, I'll do the quick beats. And then just kind of get into different sounds depending on the gig. But usually the Sages, these Lavas, or the old 60s A's cover everything. I didn't talk about these little 12s. These were special recording hi-hats. Brilliant special recording hi-hats that just didn't sound good. But again, I'll let Nick just do his thing too. So let me put these up here, and then this will be it for the day. All right. Hang tight 16s. Let me pull these over here. So these were special recording hats, Zildjians, probably from the 2000s or late 90s. It just sounded really dull. And again, I just said, Nick, do whatever the hell you want to do to them, make them cool. So he thinned them way out, hammered them up, put some crazy patina on it, cut out some notches to kind of get rid of the hollow kind of hum that they were doing, put some rivets on the bottom one. So he went kind of nuts though. And then the top, thinned it out, hammered it a bunch, and put this kind of cool patina stripe on it. And they're my go-to kind of electronic hi-hat sound. Like they have like layers of overtone to me that sounds like a electronic, like a drum machine hi-hat. And I have no before footage of these things, but they didn't sound anything like that. They just sounded like mid-rangey and dull and chunky. So these have become my favorite for any time I need to like play something that sounds like a loop or a drum machine or just like really heavily contrasting, which is why they're living over here for now, with the tambourine on top. All right, that is it. I still have some other hi-hats I forgot to bring in. The 17-inch V Classics, some just regular Zildjian A new beats, 14s and 15s. Actually I have 13, 14, 15 new beats. But this is the bulk of the stuff that I actually use on a regular basis. So hopefully this helps in your quest. Moral of the story, if you can find some old A's, get them. They almost all sound good. And if you want some new stuff that sounds great, hit up Nick. If you have some of your own stuff you like to get sounding better, hit up Nick. And let him do his own thing with them. There's the Sages, highly recommended. And I'll probably bring in those modified new beats from my gigging setup. Just to show, because it's pretty cool what he was able to do. He was able to retain some of the new beat crispiness, but made them so much thinner and more expressive at all dynamics. Pretty special. Which is why they're in my gigging bag, because I use them on Let's see. 95% of the gigs these days. Sometimes I go to those 15-inch mods. But all right, there you have it. I've got everything back on the shelf. Hopefully nothing collapses. I'm gonna hop off. Let me know if you have any requests, gear-related stuff or anything else. Tomorrow's Thursday. I don't know if I'll be on tomorrow. I have a meeting, but we'll see. If not, I'll see you Friday. Maybe see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good day.